Welcome everybody to the third quarter meeting of Poland Tableau user group. Today we've got some amazing guests. According to me, these are two absolute magicians. One of them is technical magician, the other is design magician. Both of them are just extremely inspiring. And well, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Kasia. Thank you, Dan. We are very grateful that you are here with us and you will share some of your expertise. But before I let you know, those who know me know that I'm just extremely talkative, so I need to have a floor for myself, at least for a moment. So let me share a couple of small news just right away. I share my screen and yeah, I hope it's visible. So besides the fact that we are meeting today, usually I tell everybody what has been happening over last quarter in our Tableau user group. This time, no big news about what we have done because, well, it's been holidays, but we have one special advertisement or one special information. Our co-leader team has been joined by Dominik Niekurzak. Dominik works as Tableau analyst, as BI analyst in BNP Paribas, and is also GIS specialist. Sorry, I had to think about spelling it in English, not in Polish. My head somehow works in Polish. So welcome, Dominik. It's great to have you in our team.
Hello.
Yeah. And then the second big topic we've been talking about just before you had chance to join us, Data Farm Europe. Just 2 days ago, it was announced that the European Data Farm event will be held in London on 2nd and 3rd November this year. Well, November is probably not the best time, but let's hope we will meet there. And well, if you feel like taking part as a speaker, also the applications for speakers are right now open. So if you think about that, use your chance. I think the applications are open till 29th of September. So there's still some time to think about that and to plan something. Okay. And then another big news is that the new cohort of Tableau ambassadors have been announced, and we've got today with us, well, 3 ambassadors, 2 very experienced ones. Dan is 4th time ambassador. Kasia, 4th or 3rd?
It's 3rd. Mm-hmm.
It's 3rd, okay. So 2 extremely experienced ambassadors, and I have a pleasure to join the Magic Group this year as well. So I'm 1st time ambassador. And as you can see, there is a map. On this map, you've got the tiny dot. And the tiny dot, I would like to quote Natalia Kukulska. She sang once, and this tiny dot is me. So it's not me, it's us, it's me and Kasia. And yeah, I'm very happy to share the information. Okay, and now it's time to get to our great speakers. The first one to talk will be Dan. I have heard Dan first time during Data Farm Europe last year in London, and that was like magic. Not the magic of showing some external tools around Tableau and making that look amazing. No, Dan just used what he had inside Tableau and made technical magic out of that. I went there to listen to business part of the presentation, and after 2 weeks I figured out that I'm completely addicted to 2 of the games he published on Tableau Public, to Number Stamper and to Sets. So yeah, these are good ones. if you have some time, go for them, check them. They are amazing. Yeah, that was how I met Dan. And Dan comes from Israel. He works for EPAM or Naya, or is it both?
It's both, actually. Naya is the Israeli company, and we're a subsidiary of EPAM.
Okay. So anyway, he's a BI consultant and leader of the BI team, working with Tableau for at least 10 years. So high quality expert. And yeah, he's also 4 times Tableau ambassador and collector of Tableau certificates. So Dan, I give floor to you, and I know that our guests during the meeting will be in good hands.
Thank you, Agatha. I'll just share my screen. So this is basically my presentation from the Data Farm Europe a year ago in London. Of course, adapted. It's about recursive parameters, which we'll explain in a minute. So we'll talk about recursive parameters, give an example of the basics, how it works, then a few business uses for these parameters, like ordered sets, personalized KPIs, a stock picker, and then we'll get to the fun stuff, which is the games. A bit about me, as Agatha said, I'm the BI team leader at Naya Technologies, which is we're a software consulting company in Israel. We belong to EPAM Systems, which I think has quite a few employees in Poland, several thousand, I think. It's an American company, but lots of employees in Eastern Europe. At work, I've been doing BI for 30 years. A large part of it at Naya Technologies. I worked with over 90 Tableau customers. I write and I teach Tableau courses. I'm certified. I've done all the certifications. Every time I renew, I do a different one. I think I've 7 or 8 certifications already. At home, and this stuff is home, yes. I'm married, I've got 4 children, I'm an orienteer. I'm a 4th-year Tableau ambassador, mainly from my work on the forums and answering questions. I judged the Iron Viz qualifiers once. From Israel, we can't actually participate, so it's an easy decision to be a judge. I've actually worked on Tableau certification exams on a team of ambassadors. That's part of the job. That's part of the volunteering. I've got a Tableau Public profile, of course. No Viz the days, because my design is usually too functional and not very beautiful. And I've spoken in this actual presentation. I presented at Tableau conference and Data Farm. And you have the links. It'll be on the recording anyway. I'll share a file maybe with Agatha later, so she can send it or share it somewhere. And let's get to business or pleasure. When I presented at Tableau conference, I asked, are you here for business or pleasure? Now, obviously, everyone comes to conferences for pleasure. So the first thing we'll do is play a game using Tableau. Okay, so this is on Tableau Public. The very simplest game ever invented, I think, tic-tac-toe or noughts and crosses. And we can play. Okay, this is crosses to play. Sometimes it works actually. Okay, and now the notes to play, and different. You can do different every time. Let's do something that can now. Let's make a mistake in a minute. Okay, so here, this is a mistake, and the crosses win. And of course, we can start over, and play again. Now we can't have a two-player game because Tableau Public is just one screen, but it's a fully interactive game, and this is where I started with the recursive parameters. We'll get back to this game afterwards. Okay, so this is the slideshow. Okay, so let's see how it works. What is recursion? What's recursive? Recursion is when the definition of a concept or process, this is from Wikipedia, depends on a simpler or previous version of itself. And after Tableau came out with parameter actions, I think it was in 2019, that's the idea that came upon me. That a parameter, if you have a parameter action, then the value of a parameter can depend on the previous value of itself. And from that point on, I never looked back. Okay, so the easiest way to do it, let's just take an example. We create a parameter. Let's call it counter. Okay, and then we create a calculated field based on the parameter. And the calculated field's value is counter plus 1. And then in whichever way you want, clicking somewhere on a work, you can perform a parameter action. Now, parameter action in Tableau do it. It says put a value in this parameter based on this some field in the worksheet. So if a field would be this field, then the parameter value counter would go up by 1 every time I click. And that's the simplest recursive parameter you can probably create. Okay, and we'll actually run through an example now. This is performed in Tableau, which is slightly more complicated. Instead of just adding a 1 every time, I'll use a Fibonacci sequence in which, as you should know, every number is the sum of the previous two numbers. Okay, so we'll go back to our Tableau. Okay, go to Tableau Desktop and have a look at our Fibonacci sequence. And I'm going to actually show the explanation so you can see what happens. So I have my counter from the previous example, and I have my Fibonacci number. And these are my parameters. So let's have a look at them. Counter is this one. Fibonacci, I need two numbers. I need to always remember the current number and the previous number. So these are my two numbers. And if I click, okay, it's added 1 and 1. Both first numbers are 1, and I get 2. Now it's gone 2 and 2 plus 1. Now it's going to do 2 plus 3, which is 5. Now 3 plus 5, which is 8. And so on and on. So I've created a Fibonacci sequence and can go on clicking. I've actually tried it. At some point, Tableau does an overflow and starts putting zeros at the end of a number. So how does this work? I have my calculated fields, the next counter, which is counter plus 1. And for Fibonacci, I actually have two calculated fields, Fibonacci, I call it, I'm going to show them in a minute in the calculations, which is based on the Fibonacci current parameter, and Fibonacci next, which is current plus previous. That's how I add them both together. So when I click, Fibonacci next goes into, next is 13 plus 21. It goes into current. I'm going to get 34. Fibonacci, this one actually, goes into previous, and the counter goes up by 1. Okay, another click, and that's exactly what happens. You can see in the dashboard actions. Okay, for this sheet. Ignore the disable, highlight, and stuff. I have and the clear options, which I'll talk about in a second. Counter next is an action in which I put my next counter field into the counter. Fibonacci next. I've got my Fibonacci next field into Fibonacci current, and of course Fibonacci previous gets Fibonacci field. Doesn't actually have to be sum here. It can be no aggregation even. Okay, the fields are on my worksheet, of course, and they need to be in the worksheet even if they're not displayed. So I put them on detail. I have Fibonacci next. You can see the sum of the two parameters, and so on. This is all on my Tableau Public profile. Of course, you can actually download it and look at the workbook and see how it works. Okay, are you with me? Because I'm used to teaching. I know sometimes the network goes down or something, and I'm teaching to myself.
We are here.
So I need confirmation once in a while because I can't see you. Okay, so that's an easy one. And I used it, my idea at the beginning was to use it for games. But at some point, I saw that it has business uses, both because people were asking on the forums, and there were questions that I was able to answer, and because it's interesting. So now let's talk about business, because most of us don't actually create games on Tableau Public. Okay, so this is the explanation about how Fibonacci works. The clear button. I forgot about that. Okay, so this is the clear button. What does the clear button do? It's also a worksheet. And if you look, you see it has, there's a field called 1. So when I click here, I also have my actions, which say clear. What does clear do? It takes this field 1 and puts it in each of the parameters. Now I can't do all of them at once, so I need a different action for each of them. But I simply put the value 1, which has to be a field, in each of my parameters. And in my games, it's a bit more complicated. Usually there are 8 or 10 parameters, so my clear button has to perform 8 or 10 actions. But here there are only 3 parameters. So when I click clear, everything goes back to 1. Okay, now a few business uses, a few examples, and of course there are other things that we can do. The first one is ordered set. So it's taking this simple parameters from the Fibonacci sequence to the next level, I call it. Okay, what's the next level? The next level is when clicking on different cells passes different values to the parameters. You perform different operations. One click can affect several parameters. We've already actually seen that. And we can also have different actions. You can add menu actions to enable additional operations. Okay, and I'll skip back to my desktop. And what's an ordered set? What's the actual use case here? Of course, I'm just displaying it on Superstore, but this is something that actually I've seen business cases and questions on the forum about the same thing. I want to select a list of products, but I want them to be in the order in which I select them, not by value of sales, not by the ABC, not by anything else, only in the order in which I select them. So when I click behave, okay, when I click on a product, it appears. When I click on another product, it appears after it. I'm actually showing the parameter here, so you can. I click on another one, it appears. Or this is because the IDs, they have double IDs in Superstore. So I actually got 2 of them by using the ID. Click on another one, another one, and so on. As you can see, every time I click on one, it appears at the bottom. Okay, the order is the order in which I click on it. And I'll show you something else as well. I can click, and I have the option to remove. I can remove this one from the list, and I can remove this one from the list. Okay, so I even have more options. So how does this work? The idea is that I have, and I'm going to show you actually, but simply looking at this parameter. Let's clear. Okay, so there's no, when I click on a product, you can see in the tooltip on purpose, of course. You can see that there's a field in the tooltip, the top field, which says listed products plus selection. Okay, so that's this value plus the ID of this product. And this is what I'm pushing into the parameter. So when I click on the folding chair, you have to click again. You see that the parameter receives this value. Now my list has one ID, and if I look here, for instance, I can see that the listed products plus selection has the current contents of a parameter plus the new ID, the ID for this product. So each row, each bar has a different value for the listed products plus selection. When I click, it gets that value, and the new product is added to the list. This is the recursive part. So each time the parameter depends on the previous version of itself plus the ID of a new product. All the rest is just string manipulation. Because what have I done here? I've actually, I have a few calculated fields. Let's have a look. One of them is products order. What's products order? Okay, I just find if this is the list, this is the parameter, yes, listed product. So if the ID is not in the list, if I don't find it, then I just give a very large value. Else, I give the location of a product ID list. This is the sorting. Okay, I'll just show header. So this actually sorts the products, and I'm also filtering by it. Okay, less than 9999. So anything that's not in the list is not displayed. Anything that I find in my parameter, in my very long string, will be in the list. And that's how I order them. How do I do remove? Very similar technique. Okay, how do I remove? I have another field here, which is called remove product. Remove product for any product in this list will say, okay, go to the parameter, go to my string, and replace the value of this product ID with nothing. So it just takes it out of the list. And the action, the menu action that you see removed from list, simply takes the remove product value and puts it in this one parameter over here. So here I have this the second one, this product ID. When I perform the menu action, it just removes it from the parameter. Let's just do it. And you see it's just jumped out of the middle, and we have only two products. So there's other stuff you can do here. I'll show you in a minute, but this is the basics of actually enabling the user, because as developers, of course, we can sort stuff any way we want, but this enables the user to decide in which order he wants his list. And sometimes it's important, okay, from a business point of view. Okay, so our next example is personalized KPIs. This is a bit newer. And then I thought, okay, so I can actually give the user the option to select his KPIs on a sort of KPI dashboard and display them in any order that he wants. So that's what we're going to do. It looks something like this. Now, this was an entry for unveil in Israel, our local unveil. It was, of course, it didn't win, of course, because my designs are not beautiful. And I don't do the storytelling well, but it's very functional and I like it. So let's go and look and see what happens here. And I'm not going to go into detail of how I built this. This is map layers. If you want to know how to use map layers well, go and watch the recording of the Maps, Tableau and Maps user group, which was a couple of hours ago. The recording will probably be up on YouTube very soon because they talk exactly about this type of stuff. But here I have a list. It's more or less the same list as we had before of KPIs. And I'm using exactly the same technique. I click on average order, and you can see that the KPI for average order was added to the list. I can also click, let's say, average discount. I can say remove KPI, and this will disappear. Okay, so I can get the user an option to, and I can make this disappear as well, by the way. Okay, this is simple. This is a simple show hide button. I have filters and everything, but I'm giving the user, a business user, the option to have a whole list of KPIs and choose which ones he wants to see and in which order. Because I can even change the order. I can say, okay, this is profit. I want to move it up. It's going to move left, which is up. Or I can take the number of orders and move it to the top. Okay, now all of these, actually on this worksheet. Okay, so I have a new field for each of them, and it's simply a calculation that takes, see, this is my KPI list. That's the very short IDs for the KPIs. But my calculated fields are performing all sorts of manipulations. So move to top, it's not that easy. Move to top is okay. You remove it, and then you put it at the beginning. Let's have a look at it. KPI manipulation. So move to top. Let's say if a KPI is in the list, then first replace the KPI code with nothing, remove it, and then put it at the beginning before the rest of the remaining part of the string. Move to bottom would be exactly the same, but the replace plus a KPI code at the end. It is the same, it's here. And you also have move down and move up. These are a bit more complicated. This is table calculations. I won't go into the details, okay, but I can do all sorts of stuff very nicely here. So I can play around a bit, and why I like this one. This is why is this also very powerful for users. I don't know how many of you actually work with Tableau, how many work with Tableau Public, but on Tableau Server and Tableau Cloud, a user also has the custom views option. So the user can actually decide on his KPI list, organize them, let's say add the return rate, because I'm in charge of quality, okay, put the return rate at the top, and then, and of course, I'm not on Tableau Cloud or something here. I moved up, not to the top, sorry. Put a return rate at the top. And then of course, I don't want to go tomorrow to go into this dashboard and do all this again. So I can save a custom view. And when you save a custom view, it saves your parameters. So the actual state of a dashboard will be saved. It'll stay the same, and you'll be able to reopen it with your parameters in the same order and the same selection that you decided upon. So it's a good possibility for business users. Agatha, you still with me?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I can hear someone.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
Okay.
That one, you haven't shown the one in London, and that's really good. Yeah.
Because it was this one's relatively new. It's newer.
Yeah. Okay. It's good.
Okay, and again, everything is on Tableau Public, so you can download and have a look. Again, part of the functionality is the recursive parameters, and of course, there's some other stuff that I did here, but that's those are different techniques. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is a stock picker. Okay, so I want to build and evaluate a portfolio of stocks. And where did this idea actually come from? I once had a customer, a real customer, and they wanted to select a number of, let's call them attributes of something. Of course, I can't exactly show what it was. They want to select, there was a list, there were dozens of them, maybe even 100 attributes. We wanted to create some sort of measure based on a selection of attributes, and we wanted to select 10 of them. So you could select up to 10 attributes, give each one a weight from 0 to 100, the relative weight. Even the aggregation could be changed. And then, of course, it would calculate this weight, take one attribute, multiply by 80, another one by 20, another one by 40, add them all up, do an average, and give a sort of score to whatever they were analyzing. But the way we did it was we actually had to create 10 parameters for selecting the attributes, another 10 for giving each one its weight, another 10 for selecting the aggregation, which is sum or mean. That's 30 parameters. And then, of course, the calculations, the calculated fields were really long. So you multiply the first one by this and the second one by, and so on. It's really complicated. And now we can do it using recursive parameters. I'll show it in a minute. So there's 3 parameters in all. You can add any measures, any number of measures. You're not limited to 10. You can clear it all with one button. Here, to clear them, you just did 0, 0, 0, 0. It did it manually. And of course, you can add more logic. And the logic is like this, and I'll just explain before I show it. In this case, I'm selecting from a list of stocks as if I have a stock portfolio. So I'm going to select, let's say, Salesforce stock, and I want 100 shares. Okay, so I have this shortcut for ticker. This is number of shares. I say add to portfolio. It will add a string to my parameter, my portfolio. CRM is actually Salesforce, by the way. So we have 20 shares of Salesforce. I can add as many as I want. That's exactly the same as we had in the previous example. Okay, and I can remove, of course, in the same way. And I have to play around with strings a bit in order to calculate the result, but it's just a calculation. And in the end, it looks like this. I have my selected stocks. I have my quantity of each. I have my value. I've selected also a buy and a sell date, so I can see how my portfolio behaves over. Hopefully, I would be able to see the future and be very rich, but it doesn't work like that. So let's have a look at how it actually works. Okay, so this is the stock picker. Okay, so you can see the parameter here. Of course, the user won't be able to see this. So I can select a ticker, a stock list. Okay, footlocker. Okay, this is a very simple parameter action. Okay, click on this, the ticker gets the value. This is the standard parameter action, not a recursive one. Okay, so if we said footlocker, we want let's say 100 shares, and now I'm going to click add to portfolio. Sometimes I have to click twice. Okay, and you can see the footlocker has been added to my list. Okay, now here I'm using the same technique that we saw before to filter them, to analyze exactly what we have. There's quite a few complicated calculations here, but the recursive part is the important part here. I'm not going to go into everything and all the calculations for this. I can actually manage this. I can take out the stock IDs, the tickers from here, using string manipulation, find out which ones I have, and then perform a calculation in order to add up the numbers and get the value of my portfolio. But the recursive part is actually adding something and removing it. So if I choose one that's, if I've chosen one that's in the portfolio, again, it finds it, says, okay, it's in the string, so I should display a remove from portfolio button. But if I choose something that's not in my list, okay, so HSY is not contained in this string, in this parameter, then it gives me the add to portfolio option. Okay, so this is actually a nice worksheet. So it's let's look at the apply text. Do you know about this functionality? This is new in the latest version, find in data pane. Apply text. Okay, so if it doesn't contain the ticker, then right, add to portfolio, else remove from portfolio. Okay, that's what I do. And I also have by quantity here. This is what I actually add to my okay, I have new stock. Again, if I'm doing a remove, an add, sorry, not contains, then this is my calculated field that I'm gonna push into a parameter. And if I'm removing, then this is my calculated field, and you've already seen the functionality for removing. It's replacing the value with nothing, an empty string. So this is the recursive part, and works. It's a nice visualization, but it, of course, can be used for other things as well. So that's the business part. Okay. But I started from games. Okay. So I'll just go through some of the games and start with how a game is created. We looked at tic-tac-toe. We look at it again now, but the basics of a game is this. A parameter contains the state of a game, and there are other parameters around it supporting it. So in this case, there's one parameter which contains the state of a game. It has 9 digits. Each one is one of these squares. Okay, so a 2 is a naught, a 0. A 1 is a cross, and a 0 is an empty square. So you can see 2, 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 1. Let's go back to Tableau and have a look at the game. And now I'm going to show the parameters. Okay, so when I click in the middle, the middle one, it's going to change to a 1. Now, why do I need the step count? The step count is just so it knows who's the next to play. If it's an even number, it's going to be a naught. If it's an odd number, it's going to be a cross. So now I'll take the top left, which is the first digit, and that turns into a 2. Bottom right is going to be the last digit. That turns to a cross as well, to a 1, and so on. And so all the rest is just various string manipulations. And the start over, of course, sends the value 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the zeros into the game parameter. So that's how a simple game works. And you can see I have a number of parameter actions. You can download it, have a look, and see how it works. Other games. Okay, we're gonna go. This wasn't in my data farm presentation either, because I met Matthew Miller, who is the now he's director, VP. I think he's changed the position. He's in charge of product at Tableau, and he said he loves this game. He wants to see number stumper on Tableau Public, so I gave it to him. By the way, if you scan this with your phone now while I'm presenting, you'll go straight to my Tableau Public viz, and it's phone friendly. You can play it on your phone. Okay, it's mobile friendly. There's a mobile layout. So basically, you have to choose a game. It's hiding a number. You have to choose your own number. We're going to go there, of course, and play a bit, just a bit. And the games are not this one. How did it get here? Something got mixed up. Number stuff. Okay. I hope barcode is okay. The QR code. Okay, so I'm going to start the game. Okay, and I have to guess a number. I'm just going to guess. Until I have 4 different digits, it won't allow me to click OK. I'm going to guess 0, 1, 2, 3. And okay, I've got 3 of them. Not in the right place. That's good. That's really, really bad. Okay, let's just be clever. Change the 0 to a 4. And guess in. I've still got 3. So I'm going to guess 1, 2, 3 are there, and swap them around a bit. 2, 3. I'm not going to finish the game. Don't worry, Agatha. It'll take a long time. Let's try 7. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not 1, 2, 3. It's 0 and 4, and something else. Okay. So and so on and so on, and in the end you can win, of course. I don't know what the number is. It's totally randomized. It's a whole new technique. I also have some help here, of course. Okay, the randomization is totally different technique, but this is a game, and of course, I think you can guess the state of the game here is a parameter that's having with these 3 guesses, one after the other, with some sort of delimiter between them. Okay, so it's remembering all that I've done and then using string functions to parse it and turn it into some sort of display. That's how all the games work. Okay, so I have number stumper. I have a set game, which also is mobile friendly. This is one I play when I'm bored. So set, if you don't know, you have to find threesomes of combinations here, which are, there's an explanation. I'm not going to teach set now. It's a fantastic game. I love it, and I've played with my kids, not on the computer, actual cards. This is, I think, I'd say this is my best game. Really fun to play. As Minesweeper, someone asked me for Minesweeper, so I created a Minesweeper game. It works. It's slow. It's not as much fun as playing it fast on your computer, but it actually works. And you can play it on my profile. And this was actually the first game. First game didn't have such nice pictures, but this is a memory game. It was my first game. So I'm going to reshuffle just in case. So let's just have a smaller number of pictures so it will go faster. Okay, and this is the game. Just you click for card, you uncover 2 cards. They don't fit. When you click on the next one, the old one won't disappear unless you found a pair. I haven't found a pair yet. Remember, zebra was this one, right? Yes. Okay. Now I found my first pair, and they stay uncovered. No, not the same one. This one I remember. Another pair, and so on. Here's a fox. Ah, no, it was here the fox. Okay, so you can play a memory game, and you can actually switch the. So if I want to shuffle again, switch to the flowers theme, and these are shapes, by the way. So you can see various flowers. I took all the pictures, by the way. It's all from my camera. Okay, and try and uncover. Flowers is more complicated, especially if you don't know their names. And so this is a memory game. I also have a Sudoku helper. This isn't actually, it's a game. Yeah, so you can actually enter your own Sudoku here and it helps you. But you, in the end, you have to find the answers. I can go into this one as well. Just have a look. So there's a help screen over here. But basically, I can choose my puzzle. I'm not going to do the custom one. Let's do the medium. Apply. Did it apply? Yes, it did. Okay, and now it's both helping me. It's giving me the puzzle and helping me. If I don't want it to help me, I can turn off the numbers. Again, if you think about it, the state of this game is a string 81 digits long, 9 by 9. It holds a 0 if I haven't guessed anything, if I haven't got a number, or a number in the correct spot. So it goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 0, 0, 6, and so on. And that contains the state of a game. And when I click, when I enter a 9 here, because it's telling me to enter a 9 here, because it's the only option, and here, okay, then of course it's changing the state of that string, and I'll take the 3 and put it here, and it's helping me so well I'll probably be able to finish it without even thinking, just by using the tips that it's giving me automatically. But that's a different story. The calculations for the tips are much more complicated than the parameter actions. Oopsie, something stuck. Ah, okay. It was stuck and it, sorry, went too far forward. Now there's some other stuff already being done with recursive parameters. I think I was the first to actually try it. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. June Kim was also an ambassador, actually created multi-select parameters using a worksheet with recursive parameter actions. And it wasn't 2 months ago, of course, but there's a blog post. I think it's still up there, so you can go and look at it. And Rob Taylor's created a maze game where it tracks you through the maze by using parameter actions as well. Nice game. And there's some other stuff up as well, I'm sure. And the workbook from this presentation is on my Tableau Public profile, of course. And this barcode to it, but you can simply look for my name and you'll find it. There's only one of me. And that's the end of the presentation. That's it. You can use recursive parameters for business. You can use them for fun, for playing games. And I've actually had some nice feedback from people who saw my presentation and said, we implemented this in a business dashboard because that's the best feedback I got. Because that's in the end where we're doing this for work as well. So I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you a lot. That was really, really amazing. I cannot tell that I have used that in business, but I can tell I have used very similar thing with sets and set actions and then parameters about them, and I know why your solution is better.
Okay.
So
maybe if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. If any of you have questions, you are welcome to write there in chat. So far, I cannot see anything. Yeah. So if anybody will come back with question, we can come back to that in the end, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'm here.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you a lot. And now it's time to slowly move to our next great guest. And I need my screen shown again. Yeah. And I'll move the slide just to introduce Kasia. Kasia is a legend, I would say already. Whatever she does as a dashboard for Tableau Public, somehow, absolutely accidentally, she gets Viz of the Day. I think she's got already 11 Viz of the Day. Somehow she also finds time to work besides that. So she works for EcoVadis as Senior BI Analyst. And besides that, she's 3 times Tableau Ambassador, and she also have won for 2 times award for the best Viz of the year. Last year, I was the happy one to smuggle it from San Diego to Poland in my hand luggage. So, yeah, that was my privilege. Thank you, Kasia, for allowing me that. And well, I should say that as for Polish terms, Kasia is already our Tableau national treasure. So, yeah. Oh, don't be so shy. You are. So, Kasia, the floor is yours. Tell us, how do you get to the amazing results that you show us?
Thank you, Agata. So let me share my screen. I think it will be hard to follow up on the amazing session from Dan. So I'll do my best, but I cannot promise anything. So thank you, Agata, for a lovely introduction, and welcome everyone. I'm really happy to be here, to be invited. So my name is Kasia. As Agata mentioned, I'm a Tableau Public Ambassador, and I also work as the Senior BI Analyst at EcoVadis. I live in Gdynia, Poland, which is up north at the seaside. And if I just can switch here. So here's my Tableau Public portfolio. And I think my first visualization that I've published was back in 2018. So I am a bit of Tableau Public dinosaur, I think. But if you look at the sheer number of the visits that I have published over the course of these 7 years, it's actually not that much. And the reason for this is that I basically create things as the creativity strikes me, and it's something that I cannot really predict. So I never know whether it's going to be just a few visits per year or maybe more than that. But I'm actually okay with this. And I am really happy and humbled to see a very positive response from the data farm community regarding my visits with the Viz of the Day nominations and Viz of the Year awards. So it's really amazing to see that my work has kind of like struck a chord with people, I suppose. And for today's session, I try to reflect on what makes my portfolio uniquely mine. And if there are perhaps any like rules or steps that I typically take in the process of creating a visualization that I take either consciously or subconsciously that maybe help me along this journey to see such positive response from people. So today I was thinking about maybe sharing some of these thoughts with you and the insights, and maybe look into a couple of things that I try to address whenever I start a new project. So first of all, it's inspiration. And for me, and I think for many of us, nothing really starts without this step, because this is where our ideas for new visits are born. And I think this is a bit of a tricky step for me, because I am not a person that is naturally creative. I think that sometimes I have periods of time where I have absolutely zero ideas, and then I'll be just almost like hit by a bus with the number of ideas I have. So I have to write them down. Obviously, 99% of them never come to life, but at least I am in this mindset, this creative mindset that is kind of focused on creating something new. And over the course of these past years, I have found a couple of maybe tips and regarding resources and tools that you could use if you are looking for great sources of inspiration. So I would start with Tableau Public and the Viz Gallery. It's probably very well known to most of you, but maybe an obvious step. But for me, it's a great starting point. And here I like to check out the latest trends and see maybe any unique new ways to visualize things, something out of the box. And basically, very frequently, you can just come across some of the visits that make you wonder how impossible. So it just kind of, I think, maybe challenges you to think about creative and unique ways of doing things yourself. However, as I mentioned, this is a starting point, at least for me. I definitely do not limit myself to Tableau Public. I look for inspiration outside of Tableau specifically, because I think it's easier to broaden up the scope to data visualization and graphic design in general, but not even that. I will show you some other examples in a second. But one such place for more like a graphic design ideas that include in general would be Behance, which is one of my favorite resources for data viz inspo. Here, for example, you have a cool viz about plastic pollution that hasn't been done in Tableau. It has been done using Adobe Illustrator, which I also use. But I guess I love this resource because, of course, we're not trying to replicate something one-to-one. So it doesn't really matter that it has been built in a different tool. What you're trying to get is maybe possible solutions for like different charts, so that you can start playing around in Tableau and see whether something is possible or not. And it just kind of spurs that creativity. Another resource would be Dribbble. I admit that I don't use it as frequently as Behance because I feel like it's more UX oriented, but it does have some amazing examples of very polished and professional dashboards. So if you're looking for that, maybe in the business context, then I would definitely recommend this as well. And also Visual Capitalist, very popular resource. It's more infographic style. inspiration. So a very small, easily digestible kind of data stories in here. I really like the posts that always follow the visual. They explain how the data has been collected and basically how the whole viz came to be. And last but not least, we have pudding.cool, which is by far my favorite resource, but I wouldn't call it maybe data viz inspiration specifically. For me, it's more data storytelling or even data journalism inspiration. These vizes are built, I think, with like some scripting that I am completely unfamiliar with, but I just really love how things are created in pudding.cool. The stories are just amazing and super addictive. So if you ever come across pudding.cool, I can guarantee that you will be stuck for at least 30 minutes because it's really just quite, so it's not only visually pleasing, but very interesting in terms of the stories told. And now also, I think it's important to note that inspiration doesn't even have to come from tools like these ones that I have just shared. Inspiration is really everywhere around us. So if you look outside of the window, especially now, like even the colors of the changing seasons is something that could inspire you. And I see this as I reflect on my visits now, I see this quite a bit in a lot of my work. So for example, this viz on my wardrobe audit that I did a couple of months ago, I was quite struggling with it in terms of how I wanted it to look. And I've been testing a couple of different options, but nothing seemed to stick. And it was actually my hometown Gdynia that kind of inspired me in terms of the direction that I wanted to take with it. So in Gdynia, we have a lot of buildings that have been built around 1920s, and they are following a very specific architecture style of modernism. So there is always like these very curvy, rounded lines and kind of raw textures, light textures, a lot of natural shades, light shades. And even the modern buildings are kind of like that. But I also found some inspirations in terms of internal design. And when I kind of put all of this together, this is where I arrived with the textures and the shading. Like basically light would be falling in here in these places. So I think sometimes this inspiration is more subtle than like very literal, but you can definitely see this. So I would highly encourage just being open-minded and being open to reading this anywhere you go, really, because it really surrounds us. Now, the next thing is mood boards and drafts. So before I even jump to Tableau, I always at least try always to start with a very raw draft of my visualization on paper first, because it takes really little time. It doesn't cost anything really. And it really helps you to maybe see whether the idea that you have visualized in your mind actually makes sense, or maybe perhaps like the placement is just not going to work with the space available. So it's a really nice like starting point to imagine whether your idea can be materialized. With the mood boards, I also do that, maybe not in such a comprehensive format as I've presented in here, because I admit that this one has been created for another Tableau meeting that I was attending to. But it's also, if I show you this a bit closer, this was also a mood board that I have created for visualization of the green Gdynia viz, which I will show you in a second. But basically, I've kind of looked at the shapes that inspired me, like circular shapes, the overall look and feel of incorporating like different styles, very vibrant textures with black and white photos. For photos, I was looking through some photos of old Gdynia, just like the beach that I used to live very close to. So all of this is very close to my heart. And then at the time, I was super inspired by collages, especially the retro ones where everything is kind of out of scale. So when I put all of this together, let me just go here. I arrived at this Gdynia Viz, which was analyzing the temperatures in Gdynia, my hometown, over the years. So you can kind of see how I was inspired by the vibrant colors, juxtaposition into the black and white, and things like that. So it was also very helpful to put it together. I admit it was in a different format, not as elaborate as the one I've shown you. It's typically just a folder with a bunch of images, but yeah, it's definitely very useful. So let me just go back to my presentation. Now, also one thing that I keep in mind whenever I create a new viz is to create something that has a visual hook and kind of draws viewers in. And I think this is especially important in current days where everything is fighting for our attention all the time. So it's quite important to have this visual hook in your viz. And one way I was able to achieve this, like maybe in some of the vizes, I have two examples here. So this one, this was about my diet journey a couple of years ago. And in here, I kind of took like more humorous angle on this viz. So I tried to create like a header that was drawing people in. And then at the bottom, there was also additional like animation to bring everything together, which I think contemplated maybe the style and the look of this visualization in particular. So in general, I really like how it ended up. Another example was this viz about The Office, specifically the character called Dwight Schrute. So it was supposed to be a visualization about his point of view in terms of like maybe surveilling his colleagues at work. So I decided to play around with this idea of like having these little monitors up top, kind of seem to maybe control his colleagues from afar. And yeah, I really like this one, especially the header, but even like, of course, the viz itself is important. So it's very crucial to keep the balance between those visual hooks and making sure that they are not the only interesting thing about this, right? So it's just like the starting point that draws people in, and then the story is even more important. So it just helps to keep that attention of people. Next, trial and error. So I think for me, it's also important to be open to the idea of iterations in the design, and not knowing that what I have in mind will actually be the final design of my visualization. And here I have an example of the viz for the 500 greatest albums of all time. It looks quite horrible here, but it was just an initial mock-up. I wanted to show you about this is that in my mind, I actually imagined that those lines, which represent individual albums, and the circles represent individual decades. So you will see this in the final viz, but basically each circle here is a decade, and then each line represents an album on the top of the 500 greatest albums of all time. How I imagined this was that, like, basically the distribution of the lines across different genres, which the colors represent, would be more or less similar, whereas it looks like some genres were more heavily impacted than others. So how it ended up looking, I just couldn't get this idea out of my mind that it just looked like this radioactivity icon. And I hated it so much that I've actually left it for I think maybe a month or so, and did not come back to it. I had no idea how to fix this. But then I started playing around with the idea of transparency of the lines and adding the dark backdrop and the visualization of the vinyl record in the back. And this is the final result where, like with the custom type B, the textures and this transparency effect, I think it just kind of came together, and in the end I was happy with this. But sometimes when I look at it, I still see this bloody button. So, you know, it really depends on the day. Okay, and then next, the details. So something that kind of speaks maybe to the idea of adding textures and these little elements that kind of take it to the next level. That's something that I think in my work for Tableau Public specifically is really a crucial point. And this is something that I like the most. So I get asked quite a bit sometimes, how much time have I spent on a given viz? Because it just looks like I've spent hours on it. And that is typically true. Like I can spend many weeks on one viz, of course, not like 8 hours a day, but I just really like polishing the vizzes, maybe to a bit too obsessive level. But for example, here I've worked recently on a community project for GitLab Foundation, where we are redesigning their impact dashboard. And the company had very specific branding in terms of colors and typography. And as you probably know, in Tableau, we have very limited options of using fonts that are Tableau Public safe. And this viz is, by the way, published or will be published on their official Tableau Public account. So it was important that this would be compatible with Tableau Public. So what we came up with would be the design that incorporated all the static elements of this visualization via an SVG file that would be then uploaded as an HTML URL, basically. So what that means is that if you see this object at the bottom, if I just delete this, that leaves very little graphic kind of data viz elements that are dynamic in here. Of course, there are still many, and the analysis is quite comprehensive. However, you can see the amount of information that is passed via this URL. And the sole reason for doing this is because we wanted to maintain the very crisp typography that you can kind of see in here. So it was actually our primary goal for this visualization. Another example would be like some of my Christmas visits. For some reason, I like to spend many hours on them. And this one, I think like I went kind of extra with this in terms of the background, because like I could just leave this as a plain navy blue background, but I decided to add animation of like a snow falling to just kind of keep the mood very Christmassy. And of course, this was like all very extra, maybe not needed, but for me, it's really in those details that I think you push the limits of what's possible and just kind of make the visualization more memorable. Okay, next we have peeling back the layers. So also in addition to putting a lot of focus on the details, such as custom typography, for example, custom images sent via web page objects, I also think it's important to guide users, viewers through the visualization and make it just as simple to understand as possible. So in this viz that I've recently created for tourism in Poland, so it was the analysis of tourism hotspots in Poland. I decided to create a map using Blender. So it was an external tool, but I've also added here lots of annotations. But in addition to annotations for specific regions, I've incorporated the ability to kind of hover over these dots to highlight the region on the map. And I think it was important because from the annotation itself, the viewer might not necessarily know, especially if they're not from Poland, which this was intended for, that, for example, Tatra Mountains are such a small region compared to Lower Silesia, right? So these are just these extra additions to the visualization that help your viewer and don't do the extra work to understand. And on that topic, on the topic of extra work, another thing that is useful in terms of not leaving any space for the guesswork would be to make sure that your legends are very elaborate and easy to understand. So in this viz about Oscars that I have created here, I was analyzing Oscar winners since the beginning of the of Oscars in 1929, and in here I've put quite a strong emphasis on the legend up top in here. So you can see that it's taking quite a lot of space, and the reason for this was because I was showing quite a lot of different attributes and metrics. I did not want to force a user to kind of always try to figure out what they are looking at, because users will simply not do this. They will just click away. So for this particular visit, the legend was very elaborate, but all of my other visits also have legends that are much shorter, but still I think it's a very, very important element to incorporate. And being bold, right? So I think this is something that I try to do as much as possible, but it's not easy to kind of find the right balance in this, so that your viz is bold, however, like the boldness does not overwhelm the story maybe. So for example, in this viz that I did about locust infestation, which I think happened in, just refresh that. I think it happened back in 2021, where I created this viz for the submission to Iron Viz, I think. I was analyzing a locust infestation in the southern part of Europe and Asia and Africa. And in here, first of all, I've added this custom typography up top that kind of speaks to the theme. It was about the swarms of locusts that were putting people at the risk of being deprived of food. And it was actually 35,000 of people every day that were put at this risk. So instead of just putting like a number in here, I decided to visualize every single one of these people. And, you know, it could have been a bit much, but I think sometimes when we look at the number and just see 35,000 people, it's really hard for us to imagine what that really means. So that's why I decided to take this kind of more bold approach and visualize this way. But it doesn't always have to be so loud. Sometimes it can be more subtle, like in this viz about refugee crisis over the years. In here, I have been analyzing number of refugees coming from different crises around the world. And one thing that came across as pretty obvious when I was analyzing the data was that most of the data sources treat refugees as just, you know, numbers. And for me, it was quite shocking. So I wanted to put this like strong contrast between the refugees and just putting that humanity behind it. So that's why I made very subtle change in the title itself to draw attention to the fact that these are people like you and I, and any one of us can be in this position tomorrow if something happens. So so it doesn't always have to be as striking as in the swarm in this, for example. Next, pausing and reflecting. So I think it's also quite useful to make sure to take a break if needed, and just revisit the viz after a while to see if there are any room for improvement, or maybe the older viz could inspire you to create a new one that is working better perhaps, and incorporates the changes that you would like to incorporate. So that happened actually with one of the business I created longer time ago. I think it was 3 years ago. It was the custom chart builder. So I played around with the idea of collapsible sidebar, and basically you could just kind of create like a self-service tool where people could select different metrics, breakdowns, and different types of visualizations on the chart. And I did like it. However, after revisiting this a couple of months later, I really did not enjoy like the striking contrast between the sidebar. Just seemed a bit too in your face for my liking, but I decided to keep it as it was because it was my original idea. But then created the version of the template that was a bit more subtle. So it also utilized the same functionality, but it was more subtle. So if it wasn't for that first bit, probably the other one would not exist. But sometimes it's really good to take that break and rethink some of the ideas. And I think most important of all, I think it's crucial to understand that it's okay to scrap a project if it's just not working. Don't be too attached to it. Sometimes we might have an idea and feel like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. And then you start working on it and something is just not looking the way you envisioned. And I think this is perfectly fine to just scrap it all together and start over. In the end, it's really our free time that we spend on these projects on Tableau Public. So it's important to make sure that you do have fun with it and enjoy the process. And also scrapping a project could allow you to have more space for other ideas and other explorations. So don't be afraid to explore. Thank you. So if you have any questions, I can take them. And if not, then feel free to connect with me via LinkedIn. I believe slides will be shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasia, a lot. That was, as always, amazing. As I said in the morning, recently I have good luck for speakers. So thank you both a lot. It was a pleasure to listen to both of the presentations. I cannot see any questions so far. Oh, everybody just thinking. So thank you a lot. That's been an amazing meeting. And before we end, one question. Kasia, that's a question for you. Do you have the opportunity to employ these pretty cool design practices at your workplace?
I wonder who's asking this question. Could it be Mateusz from my workplace? I think, Mateusz, this is between you and I.
Okay. That was tricky. True. So we are getting slowly to the end of our meeting. Thank you both again a lot. And before we go, I just want to have one more announcement. And I'll share my screen once again for a moment. For the second time, we managed to start preparing an on-site meeting in Warsaw. In less than a month, we meet again with 2 other great speakers. Dominic will talk about maps, and we will also have Claudia Stano, who will talk about Dear Data project in its Polish version, and have some hand drawing workshop. So it sounds good. If any of you will be able to join us, please come. It will be amazing again. And thank you for today's amazing meeting.
Thank you, Agatha. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.